Are the American people fit to govern themselves, to rule themselves, to control them? I believe they are.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. There is the love of God. And if you have any doubt concerning the love of God, look at the cross.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
We establish no religion in this country, nor will we ever. We command no worship. We mandate no belief. But we poison our society when we remove its theological underpinnings. We court corruption when we leave it bereft of belief.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome into another edition of American Heritage Live. I'm your host, Jeff DeShazo, along with co-host Ron Meyer and our venerable producer, the man in white, this afternoon, Daniel Conner, in front of the flashing lights and all of the pots going up and down. Pots is the vernacular for the dials that Daniel has to turn. Pots used to be... I'm getting too technical. Forget what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. I digress. Let's get back to the show, Ron.
We've been doing this for months now, Jeff. I want you to know that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it brings back memories, you know, what Daniel's doing. That's how I started out in front of the board back in the old days at WDJC. That was my first radio job out of college back in the day. And that's when we used to use actual albums, spinning albums. They don't do that anymore. All right, I cause Ron's eyes to go back up in his eyelids, so that's a cue to keep the show moving.
Here we go.
We always want to thank our sponsors, Ron, and they are Jim King of Hedges and Highways Ministry. Thank you, Jim, and Brad Phillips with Homewood Auto Body Specialists. Two great folks there. Thank you, Brad, as well. And myself, I'm a sponsor, too, Jeff DeShazo with Keller Williams Realty in Hoover. I had a couple of great weeks, especially in business this last week. We'll go into more detail later in the show, but want to announce our guest today, Ron.
Yes.
One of our favorites that we've had on the show before, that is Alexa Likis-James. She is a vice president and co-founder of Blanket Fort Hope. And folks, if you're tuning in going to brunch or to and from church, let me encourage you to lock in to what we're listening to on the show, because we're going to be talking about human sex trafficking on the show. It's a very unpleasant topic. But it is affecting families. It's rampantly affecting families in the greater Birmingham area in the state of Alabama, as it does all over the Southeast and the Bible Belt. It is a best-kept secret among the perverse industry. But we are pulling the lid off and exposing this industry to Christians and non-believers alike, because you need to be aware. No one is immune from this. No family is immune. If you want to know about it, if you have someone that you're concerned that they might be in danger, let me encourage you. Take notes, write down the information, so especially tune in and lock in to the next hour when we have our special guest after the first break, Alexa Likis-James. Now, on to the first story. Ron, you got a couple of stories to lead us off.
Well, I want to share this with you, Jeff, just to get your feeling on this. It kind of took me a little bit by surprise, probably took a lot of people by surprise, but you know... This administration has a force battling the Assad regime. You're aware of that?
Yeah.
$500 million has gone into this effort. And do you know how many fighters there are there, Jeff, fighting against him under this?
Couple 100,000?
Now, Jeff, let's be real. Would you believe 4 to 6 people, $500 million, and you don't hear a thing about that?
Actually,
why is that?
Yeah, I actually did hear those stats that you're talking. It's stupefying, isn't it? Yeah. That amount of money for 4 to 6 people.
You could build your own army with that.
Yeah. You know what I could do with $500 million in military hardware and personnel?
You know what I could do with $10 right now? I'm on $500 million.
No, this back to your point. It's breathtaking, the amount of incompetence there. I don't understand it. I know that they're talking about, well, it takes a lot of time to train, but my goodness, rolling out. What is 4 to 6 people going to do?
take the 500 million and travel around the world a few times. I had, of course, last I had heard Putin had been flying troops into Syria to hold up the regime of Assad, and he's got tanks and planes and supposedly to fight ISIS. What does that tell you about our administration's policy to fight Assad at this point?
Well, I think you said it, and you nailed it. There really is no policy. It's just a policy of deference to other nations to lead the fight, and it's heartbreaking. But it really seems this administration has been on trying to lead from behind, which is never good.
You got it.
Next story you got there, Ron?
Oh yeah. Well, this report came out by the IG,
and the IG is
that's the Inspector General.
Ignoble, notorious. No, I'm sorry.
The
Inspector
VA
General.
Inspector General's
there you
report.
Go.
Okay. So here's the report, Jeff. It just says that more than 300,000 American military veterans likely died while waiting for health care, and nearly twice as many are still waiting. That's according to a new Department of Veterans Affairs Inspector General report. They have no bookkeeping.
Hit that number again, Ron. How many are waiting?
There's double. Well, he says more than 300,000 Americans died while waiting, and nearly twice as many are still waiting. That's 600,000.
That's just heartbreaking,
right? And apparently the record keeping is so poor that they can't get information on a lot of these people. They had, let's see. The report came in response to a whistleblower who I'd like to share a little bit about in a minute, the whistleblower situation, who said that more than 200,000 veterans with pending applications for VA health care were likely deceased. They don't even realize that. Isn't that amazing? And
so they're waiting on health care, and the VA doesn't even realize they're deceased.
Yeah, on those. That's correct. You got that. Now, as of June 30th, the VA has contacted 302,045 veterans by mail. Ready? Asking them to submit required documents to establish eligibility. To date, the VA has received right now, Jeff, of the 302,000, ready? 36,749 responses and enrolled 34,517 veterans. What percentage of that?
Oh, that's awful.
Isn't that terrible? I knew that would make a day. Now, the other part of this whole craziness is that it looks like the VA is going after people that are whistleblowers that are going to give these reports to the Inspector General. They're being persecuted now.
Yeah, it's a shame. I've got it. Let me do the story before it's time to take a break, Ron. I'm getting the cue from our producer. And you can roll the music, Daniel, when you're ready. As everyone knows, the pontiff from the Vatican came and spoke to our country, and it was really heartbreaking. The guests that the White House decided to bring before the Pope. Just a stunning show of political indecorum. You've got folks who are bent on flouting Catholic teaching, pro-abortion religious leaders, openly gay Episcopal bishop. You've got Matea Williamson, a cross-dressing woman, former co-chairman of the Transgender Caucus for Dignity USA. What on earth? Sister Simone Campbell, pro-abortion executive director of the Social Justice Lobby. What on earth?
Disgrace.
Why would administration bring in folks like that? So much in your face for the pontiff there.
The same reason they went after the United Nations that were trying to establish that families are very important and won the vote in spite of our administration's fighting it, Jeff.
Yeah, it's part of the American government trying to push same-sex marriage. All right, after the break, we'll be bringing on very special guests, Likis-James, Vice President and co-founder of Blanket Fort Hope, as we discuss human sex trafficking. Stay right here, folks. Hi, everybody. This is Jeff DeShazo, host of American Heritage Live. I'd like to tell you about my real estate business with Keller Williams Realty. For the past 17 years, I have been serving the greater Birmingham area. When it comes to life's experiences, few areas give more satisfaction than owning your own home. This is a part of the American dream. Perhaps you own a home and would like a free comparative market analysis before you list it to sell. Or you may need to downsize, or need a larger home. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or considering buying a second home for your family vacations, whatever your needs are, I invite you to call me today at 205-223-7653, or you can visit my website at jeffdeshazo.com. That's Jeff, DESHAZO.com, and there you can request free listing alerts for any houses you like to be sent to you. I'd also like to send you my free mobile phone app for your smartphone, where you can search for houses over your phone. Please call me today at 205-223-SOLD. That's 205-223-7653. 223-7653. And together, we'll make real estate your estate. And welcome back into American Heritage Live, where at this point in the show, we'd like to introduce and bring in a very special guest. Ron, we've had her on the show before, and we had a lot of great reaction to the topic of human sex trafficking, and none other than my old friend, Alexa Likis-James. Alexa, are you there with us?
I am.
Coming in loud and clear. You sound good.
Excellent. Good. That's what I was aiming for.
How you doing, Alexa?
I'm doing good. I am a little bit hoarse, if you will excuse me. I've had a bit of a cold, but that's all right. We're still a go.
Yeah, that's good. That's excellent. Well, Alexa, catch us up as we open up this part of the show. Catch us up to what you're doing now. Kind of bring us up to speed.
Okay, I will. Since the last time that we talked, there has been an overwhelming response and need to address sex trafficking in the youth in Birmingham, in Alabama, and in the United States. And the law has been defined by the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Act that sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, and transportation, provision, or obtaining a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, in which the Commercial Sex Act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not attained 18 years of age yet. So we were seeing several gaps here in the United States for trafficking, what's happening in trafficking, because human trafficking indeed is actually sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and organ trafficking. So through my experience in the past with a former agency who helps adults who've been prostituted, and some of it has crossed over most certainly into sex trafficking, I was just seeing the need for us to really tackle where sex trafficking was hitting, because the average age is 11 to 14 years old in the United States of America. So started dreaming along with a friend of mine who is a lawyer and went to law school in order to help sex trafficking victims. And her name is Lauren Harton. And 9 months ago, we incorporated an agency called Blanket Fort Hope. And so that's who we are. We've been open for about 9 months, and we are on the ground, and we are doing training and prevention and education. Blanket Fort Hope believes that prevention and education will end trafficking, and housing will heal. So we're hitting all three of those areas, because we realize that one of the gaps pertains to how to organize our efforts, Jeff. There's multiple systems and agencies that are involved in anti-trafficking response, including law enforcement, court, service providers, but nobody's speaking to each other. We're not doing this together. So BFH is bringing collaboration together, and we began to organize these entities so that we can work as one to address the issues of child human trafficking by providing training that that has some interactive, that's informative, and is tailored to fit whomever we're speaking to. We're actually speaking to a group called One Family Justice Center out of Montgomery, who houses everything from task force to DHR in one area, so that as we're addressing human trafficking and child sex trafficking, that can be kind of a one pit stop to train everybody, that they can take it out to each of their entities, even to social workers and so forth. And the second gap involves where to place a child victim of human trafficking once that they have been identified. And there's no other agencies in our state or in the Southeast that can help child victims of human trafficking. And so that was the second reason for Blanket Fort Hope. And a third gap concerns were a prevention campaign geared toward children in order to teach them about the dangers of human trafficking. And we've already began that program, hoping that Junior League, we've been collaborating with Junior League and also with St. Vincent and their community outreach program in order to get this training more diversified, so we can get it on the streets to these kids that are most at risk.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Hi, Alexa. What is the magnitude of this situation right now? Say, compared with a year or two ago, do we have any statistics, any numbers, how many kids have been involved in this problem, in this situation right now, or not?
Yeah, no, we do. Again, one of the things that we're going to be very careful with here at Blanket Fort Hope is not over sensationalizing this. What we need to understand is this is an underground population that is working this program. Child human trafficking is anywhere from a pimp to mafia. So what we do have at this point, though, is that as many as 300,000 children in the United States are at risk for this. In 2010, there was an estimated 12 million children and adults in forced labor, bonded labor, and forced prostitution, and 56% of those victims were girls. In 2001, 49% of the confirmed child sex abuse were hosted in North America. The average price tag for an underage girl is $400 an hour. It's estimated that a child is sold 10 to 15 times. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually assaulted by the age of 18. The average entry... go ahead.
No, I was just saying gracious.
It's, there's been so many more studies since the last time that we spoke, that of the 800,000 children, I think that was the number that just has haunted me as we have worked, so diligently trying to stop this force. And I felt like we were missing the target just a little bit because, if a child is 11 to 14 years old, and this is from the U.S. Department of Justice, this is from Shared Hope, National Center on Domestic Sexual Violence, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, International Labor Organization. So these fact sheets are well-organized fact sheets, and this is real-time information that I can give you, that a child that is forced into prostitution or sex slavery at the age of 11 to 14 years old, her average lifespan is only 7 years. So if that's true, by the age of 21 years of age, she's dead. And the studies, that we've looked at, they make sense because we're looking at heroin, we're looking at downers, uppers, beatings, starvation, and up to 15 to 20 rapes a day. I'm sorry, 10 to 15 rapes a day. We think the numbers are higher, but those are the numbers that I'm solid on. How about that? As far as the studies go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think you can agree when you're listening to, and again, you're listening to the voice of Likis-James. Alexa is the vice president and co-founder of Blanket Fort Hope in the Birmingham area. They're located in Prattville. I want to go ahead and give your phone number that you want me to give, and I see it at the bottom of your email. Is that the number you want me to give out, Alexa?
I do, and that website, because we actually just have 2 locations.
Okay.
The Prattville area is our home office.
Right.
And then the Shelby County, Birmingham area is going to be housed for our intake because it'll be closer to Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be working solidly with all the agencies in Shelby County, from Safe House on to CHIP Center at Children's Hospital, and a lot of our education is going to be coming out of the Birmingham and Prattville area, because Lauren is living in Prattville. Her husband works for the state as an attorney, so that's the place she needs to be so she can stay on top of what we're doing legally.
So if someone needs to, we want to do this several times through the show, if someone needs to reach you, the organization, how do they do that?
Through my cell phone right now, and that number we can give out, it's the 205-532-3048. Also, we have a website. It's blanketforthope.org. Excuse me, I've got a cough.
That's okay. Blanketforthope.org. Blanketforthope.org is the website, ladies and gentlemen. And her number again for Alexa is 205-532-3048. Alexa, we're going to take a break. And folks, if again, it's not too late. If you've got some folks that you want to invite in to listen to the show, go ahead and call them, text them now as we talk about the human sex trafficking industry that is underground, and we are trying to discuss more in detail to protect you and your family from this incredible, insidious danger. You're listening to American Heritage Live. We'll be back after this.
I want you to
Hi, this is David Barton. You're listening to American Heritage Live with Jeff DeShazo and Ron Meyer.
Friends, have you been in a car accident recently and need to get some body work done, or do you need a new paint job for that favorite car? Then write this down. Homewood Auto Body Specialists. That's where you need to go. They are locally owned and have been in business for over 23 years. Brad Phillips is the owner and Hubert Underwood is the manager. Most of the staff have been with Brad for over 20 years. Homewood Auto Body Specialists are located at 96 Robert Jemison Road in Homewood. A member of the Better Business Bureau, they service foreign and domestic cars and are ICAR and ASE certified. And yes, they'll provide free estimates. Their equipment is state-of-the-art to handle all of your collision-related work, and the staff trains constantly to stay up to date with all the latest techniques. All services are guaranteed as long as you own your car. They are a direct repair facility and do business with most all insurance companies. They are open Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Call them today at 205-941-2410. 205-941-2410. That's Homewood Auto Body Specialists.
Broken free spirit alive, freely moving joy, unspeakable is what my heart, now I'm running wild, 'cause I can feel it coming in the air, faith and love have changed the atmosphere.
And welcome back into American Heritage Live. I'm your host, Jeff DeShazo, along with co-host Ron Meyer and producer Daniel Connor. We've been having a exclusive conversation with Vice President and co-founder Alexa Likis-James. She is with Blanket Fort Hope, and we've been discussing the profiles and a lot of details and information on the human sex trafficking industry, an insidious force that's working in the greater Birmingham area. And let me do this, Alexa. As folks are listening and perhaps coming into the show for the first time, let me just give a couple of the stats. You can correct any of these that you feel you need to update and say you can change them. But The last ones I had right now, according to what I just heard you say, the average age of entry is 11 to 14 years, and the average lifespan once they get in is 7 years. Is that right?
That's right.
They live only for 7 years. Now, folks, to bring this home, think of your child, male or female, mostly female, and think of her now, 11 to 14 years, and then once she gets in, she's only going to live an average of 7 years. Your daughter. Now that I have your attention, I want you to realize that this is happening to normal families every day. These are not marginalized, isolated families on the fringe of society. And Alexa's going to address that, of the normal profile of people who get in. But I want you to be aware, because this is happening to normal families and people that you know, your street, your church that you sit next to. It's happening to them. Now, Alexa, let's go back. I want to ask you the question here, just taking a cue from the human trafficking industry, just normal questions I wanted to ask. How do people tell us how they get trapped into the sex or labor trafficking? How do they get into it?
Oh, Jeff, there are several different. So I'm going to give you a couple of key ones. One, there are 33 new children missing every hour in the United States. Approximately 800,000 children reported missing to law enforcement each year in the United States, and 350,000 of those are runaways. So we're missing 450,000 children. Where are they? If they're not just runaways. 60% of those are forced into prostitution are runaways. Approximately 1 in 7 youth 10 to 17 years of age receive a sexual solicitation or approach over the internet. I want to say that again. 1 in 7 youth online, 10 to 17 years old, receive a sexual solicitation or approach over the internet.
Wow.
Those are huge numbers. Huge. Just in my family alone, that could mean 2 or 3 of our children.
Oh, sure.
Of all the children, in my family. So there's another piece that I think that we've missed, Jeff, through my study over the past 4 or 5 years, because I've worked locally, nationally, and internationally, with victims of sex trafficking, with other agencies in sex trafficking, and been composing and all this different information, and through talking to some of these girls. One of the things that I think that we've missed out on too is that it's important to note that many teenage girls are at risk of being recruited into the commercial sex industry simply by the virtue of their normal maturation process. They want to take risks. They're feeling misunderstood by parents, seeking romantic relationships. All of this makes them more susceptible to the recruitment and tactics of sex trafficking or pimps. Low self-esteem, and lack of self-worth. And, that's not a hit on any parent. I believe we all go through that as teenagers.
Sure.
And because this is, again, such a well-oiled wheel, these guys, they are on the internet. They're at your mall. They're on Facebook. They're at your football games. They're at the bus stop. They're at your aftercare school. How many times have you seen the past 2 weeks where a principal, a football coach, an aftercare worker has been accused of molesting a child or having sex with a child?
Yes.
Right here in Birmingham, Alabama. That is trafficking. Trafficking does not mean movement. Somehow they have coerced that child. They have manipulated them into thinking that they owe them something. And so what happens when they start doing that, and we're digging deeper into that, these guys are selling this person to their friends.
Whoa. Say that again, and Alexa, adjust your signal a little bit. Maybe you want to get closer to an outside wall a little bit. I'm losing you just a little bit on your signal. When you're saying you're saying they're selling this individual in the sex trafficking, they're selling this person to their friends. Say that again.
Absolutely. That is part of what sex trafficking is they will have coerced or manipulated this child, and the child is anyone under 18 years of age, somehow or the other through force, coercion, manipulation. They've attacked their self-worth, and then, as you all know, I need to paint this picture. Everything is on Facebook. We all know who your parents are. We all know who your sisters are, so they use that as a threatening mechanism, and that leverages them the opportunity to be able to sell that child to their friends.
Alexa, how are they kept under surveillance once they're taken?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Well, let me give you an example. How are they watched? How do people keep them in bondage here? If they go, suppose a kid needs to go to a doctor, let's say.
That's an excellent question. One reason, and so you'll understand this, that again, this child has become so manipulated by this person. Because the laws are not protecting the child yet, we are in the process of passing HB 433, which is safe harbor, and we can talk about that in a little bit. Right now, the child is the person, she will go to jail for the act of prostitution. And as we've talked about before, there's no child, especially under the age of 18, that's going to choose to prostitute herself. There's some manipulation. So what her trafficker or pimp is telling her, one, is he loves her. Two, that he's the one that's going to bail her out of jail. He takes her to the doctor to make sure that whatever she needs is taken care of. Yet if she doesn't perform for him, he beats her. So that is one of the things that we are out there doing, is we're training everything from emergency rooms to tattoo parlors to what this looks like. We've done Boys and Girls Club, and we're trying to teach them what the questions would be if they think that they're coming across a victim of child sex trafficking. And again, we have to be so cautious of how we ask that question, because we don't want the child to shut down.
Right.
So that one of the things we're teaching them is are they is there an inability to attend school? Are they running away from home? Mm-hmm. What kind of physical trauma are they having? Is there a lack of control of their personal schedule and or identification and travel documents, if they have those? Are they malnutrition, inappropriately dressed? If you have a child who suddenly is 11 or 12 or 13 years old and she's become over-sexualized, we need to ask questions. A sudden change in her attire, being unpaid or paid very little, being employed but not having a school-authorized work permit.
Now, these are warning signs you're giving.
These are behavioral, they're indicators of the kind of questions that I was just asked.
That's right.
What kind of things do we need to ask in order, what kind of assessments do we need to ask? You were asking the question, who are the people that are responsible for reporting, I guess basically is your question.
All right.
Yeah, and so, Alexa, what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, when you're saying we, define so the listener knows, who do you mean by we need to be on the lookout?
We all need to be on the lookout for child. And that's one of the reasons why we are trying to collaborate with all the different entities out there so that we know what that looks like. As a parent, I think what the first thing that you need to understand is that sex trafficking, and this is again by national numbers, is still the fastest growing crime in the United States of America. This is not a third world problem. Sex trafficking not only is the fastest growing crime, but is the second largest crime in the United States of America. So what is the risk? Who is at risk? Who is the level of risk? These are questions I think that we all need to be aware of.
All right, Alexa, let me interject a question for you, okay?
Okay.
We've got believers, non-believers listening alike to the show. So I'm driving home from church, and I listen to this, and I'm going to ask you a direct question, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Are kids who sit in the pews and chairs on Sunday morning, are they in equal danger to other kids? In other words, are they susceptible as well, and why?
Yes, they are. Why are they? Lack of, I would say, lack of knowledge that we have here in Alabama and the southeast of the United States. Lack of awareness. I believe part of that reason, and this is not a fact, it's just a thought, is because we are in the Bible Belt and people don't think it happens here. Let me answer the question to you in a couple of different ways.
Sure.
There was a study. The Women's Fund of Birmingham commissioned a study called Invisibility in 2010. The research studied on the presence of domestic minor sex trafficking in Greater Birmingham. According to the commission study Invisibility, the challenges in Jefferson County alone included victim identification due to lack of training, a flawed intake system that does not include questioning to disclose trafficking cases, lack of emergency response teams, unclear formal protocols, lack of short and long-term service care options, barriers for serving victims and runaway, homeless, and throwaway youth, lack of public awareness, and lack of solid research. 7 out of the 7 of the key informants interviewed in Jefferson County and social service providers said that they have all encountered situations that would be classified as child sex trafficking.
Let's do this, Alexa. I've got to interject. It is time to take a quick break. So I want you to finish answering that question and breaking down how susceptible, and you're answering my question, are kids who worship and are part of Christian households, go to church, are kids like that susceptible as well as any other? Now, you're listening to the voice of Alexa Likis-James. She is the founder and co-director for Blanket Fort Hope. We'll be back on the other side.
Hi, this is Harry Reeder, Senior Pastor of Briarwood Presbyterian Church in Birmingham, and you're listening to American Heritage Live with Jeff DeShazo and Ron Meyer.
Jim King is a concerned American and one of our sponsors and friends here on American Heritage Live. Jim is on the board of the Hedges and Highways Prison Ministry. They provide adults and teens leaving prison with assistance in these areas: counseling, support groups, assistance in finding housing and employment, food and clothing and education. Right now, they're raising funds for gift bags, which includes items not provided in prisons. These items include toothpaste, washcloth, shaving cream, soap, and shampoo. It is amazing how many are in prison without any connection to family or friends. These gift bags will lift their spirits and allow them to feel support from a ministry that will help them once they get out. Hedges and Highways is a 501c3 organization, so all contributions are tax deductible. At the moment, their goal is to raise $20,000 for the gift bags, and they need your help. Please make checks payable to Hedges and Highways Prison Ministry, P.O. Box 112075, Birmingham, Alabama 35211, or call Director Lois Gardner for more information. That number is 205-516-5634, 205-516-5634. Please call them today. And welcome back into American Heritage Live. I'm your host, Jeff DeShazo, along with Ron Meyer. And Alexa, before the break, you were answering the question in detail, and you keep on answering of, are religious kids, and I don't mean to say religious kids, but kids who follow the Lord, who are serving God, can kids like that be susceptible? But go ahead and take it beyond that. Ron was also wanting you to integrate into what types of places these kids are brought into, or is it more of an internet clearinghouse?
It's everything. I wish I could tell you that it was just one place. But let's address, every child is at risk for trafficking. I have a grandson that's young, very young, and I have already started, talking to his parents, to him. I know where he goes to church. In fact, I do want you to know that I have actually been part of a rescue of a young girl that was being trafficked by a deacon in a church in our area.
Wow.
And over the mountain area. That's the safest place, too. How many times have you heard?
Okay, Alexa, I'm going to stop you because there's some things you mentioned I think are too important to not get you to reemphasize. I want you to say that again slowly, what the profile was that you helped rescue. Say that again, what you just said, and what part of town it was.
Over the mountain. A young girl was being trafficked by a deacon in a church, and I did help with her rescue. And I actually helped rescue her several times from the same person because she kept going back because she told me he was a Christian, and she did not want to ruin his reputation.
This was a deacon in a church that was doing the trafficking?
Yes.
I don't know why that sounds surprising, Jeff, because I've heard that there are many ministers and pastors that are in therapy or counseling for sexual abuse. So, we can't say because the person is a clergy, that means that he's not involved with any of the stuff that she's talking about. Isn't that right, Alexa?
That is exactly right. I think that's we think a place of protection. The bottom line is, as a parent, I think it all goes back to we have got to get ourselves back involved. Trafficking is not just happening on the internet. It's happening in our football games. It's happening at the mall. We've had several incidents locally at our mall where a child was approached by someone to do modeling. This child was 12 years old, the one specific I'm talking to. The man had been keeping up with her profile on Facebook. He actually showed up at a couple of her middle school football games and had kept an eye on her. And parents, luckily, were involved enough. They called it quits on it. Then it ended up that the man refound the girl, and they did get had her parents. My point is, had our parents not been involved enough, the guy was tenacious and kept trying to get this little girl by herself, but the parents were tenacious enough and stayed, involved enough that they were able to head it off. All of our children are at risk. And, because we live in the Bible Belt, I think that, again, this is not a fact. This is just what I think. That we stick our heads in the sand and we don't want to hear what is happening. And so these guys, Jeff, they are trained to do this. Just like you wake up and you go to work every morning, these guys get up and they wake up and they go to work every morning, except for their job is at the airport, it's at the bus stop, it's at the football game, it's at the basketball game, it's at after school, it is at the bus stop, it's at the mall, it is at the local hangout, wherever that might be, and he is looking for that child who is either at that moment having a moment just by virtue of maturation process, or she's already had some type of abuse and she's at risk, or she may be a runaway and he's just landed at the right place at the right time.
All right, I want you to mention something directly. Before we do that, Ron has a question. Go ahead, Ron.
Alexa, I know this can be really heavy to a lot of people listening, and it needs to be talked about. But where is God in all this? What do you see happening? I'm sure you've come across some people and have seen God moving in the midst of this craziness out there. Can you share a little bit on that?
I can. That's the exciting part. Is no matter what, we serve a God whose name is Jehovah. And Jehovah means all authority is under God. Then on the flip side of this, we have to realize that we are human and that we are sinners, and that is why we have a Savior. And so I have people ask me all the time, do you get discouraged? Why ain't God stopping this? He could stop this. Yes, God can intervene every time, and He has. This is exactly why we have He's put a team together who is out there at any cost. We are going to fight. We're going to fight in the name of Jesus. We have churches that are behind us. We have people on the ground that are praying for us on a daily basis. As a matter of fact, we met yesterday in the Prattville area. We meet in the Birmingham area once a month. A group comes together, and all we do is pray for Blanket Fort Hope and these children. God loves His children. As a matter of fact, God is uniquely in love with children. If you look at Him all through the Bible, they have their own angels. He will tell you it's better to tie a millstone around your neck than pop with His children. So right there, we have God working. Then He's called all of us to come together. So the hope in that is that we will listen to that calling, and nothing that touches us has not been filtered through God's hand. So we say, why? So, there's so many stories. Beth Moore, you hear her story of her. She never delves into the sex abuse that happened to her, but we would not have her, and she would not be such a great authority on women's Bible study had she not suffered the abuse that she suffered. So I think we want to glean that this is not, we live in a fallen world. Satan is prowling. He wants to destroy us, and he wants to take every error that he can find and say, your God should have stopped this. But you know what? You've already been dinged to hell, but game is over. You don't have a say-so on this anymore, Satan. We're fighting. You need to back off.
That's good. That's excellent.
Right
excellent.
on the money.
Now, let me do this. I'm going to mention how to contact you again. And then, Alexa, after I do that, I want you to take a minute or two and talk directly to any kids or parents that may be listening. Just have a conversation with them and tell them, reach out to them, what they can do and the hope that they have, just like you're having a private conversation, just like we did last time, if you remember. Now, to contact Likis-James, she's the vice president. I said she was co-director. She is the vice president, co-founder of the Blanket Fort Hope Ministry, located in Prattville, the Birmingham area. Her number is 205-532-3048. Her website is blanketforthope.org. And the number again is 532-3048, area code 205. The website again is blanketforthope.org. Now, Alexa, take it. Take a minute or two and just speak directly to the kids and parents that may be listening.
One of the things I would like to say is let's think about a blanket fort, and a blanket fort encompasses safety, and, it's a place where we might crawl in and hide. So I want to paint that picture of a fort, a place where you can go to. We've put our flag up. We've said no more. This fort is a safe place. I want kids to know out there that there is a safe place out there for you. There is no question. There is no statement that is too stupid to talk about. If it hurts you, then it's hurting us. We want to know what it is. We want to know who is talking to you. We want to know what you're lacking in your family. Do you just want your mom and dad to hear what you've got to say? Let's have a conversation. Let's start eating dinner together. Let's start going to football games together. Let's start not dropping off the mall, but maybe all going to the mall together. Split up for a little while, but let's check out what's going on. Let's be visible. Parents, one of the things I've always said is that I'm 5'4". I am not a big to the bag person that you'd be afraid of by any means. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Oh, exactly. She's a sweetheart, dear, sweet, compassionate lady.
You wouldn't really want to mess with my 2 6'4" boys because I was involved. The teachers knew me. The Sunday school teachers knew me. Small groups were at my house. I had conversations with those people every day. Be the parent who's going to be too much trouble when your kid gets in trouble. Ask too many questions. Kids, let me tell you something. Advocacy is about ordinary people, Jeff. It is about you that's 12 years old, and it's about you that's 79 years old. It's people like us coming together, we're taking action to shift the balance of power toward justice. Change only happens when we demand it. Alone, my little darling children, you may feel you have no power, but together, and I'm with you, your family's with you, your resource centers are with you, we have a greater impact. An advocate is someone who refuses to stand by. An advocate is someone just like you, whoever you are in Radio Land, and it's someone just like me. So guess what, Jeff? You and your team are now an advocate. I am now an advocate. Everybody that hears this, so now we have the power to change the shift. So we have to go out and we have to be world changers. We have to be difference makers, and we can be. Don't be afraid to ask a question. A question may lead to another question that just might save your life.
Oh, it's superb. And let me just speak to parents a second, Alexa. As a parent, I now have a grown child who's married. Let me just speak to you in love and as gently as I can. You are not called to be their friend. Okay, guys?
That's right.
Men and women, listen to me. Lean in now. I know the culture wants you to be their friend, to be liked by your kids. Hear me. Please, I beg you to hear me. I think Alexa would agree. You can be your child's friend and lose them the next minute, that week, to human trafficking. Right. No. You're called to be their parent. Be willing to be unpopular. Be willing to be told, I hate you. You're in my stuff. You're in my things. You're going to be willing to be told that. Be willing to hear your parents, your kids say, I hate you. But let me tell you, if you're doing that, you're probably doing your job because you are in their business. You're checking emails. You're checking diaries. You're checking drawers. You're going through their clothes. You want to know who their friends are. You're checking where they're going. That's being a parent. That is not what the culture teaches you. Culture says be their friend. Alexa, I want you to comment on that, and then Ron's got a comment.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that God gave you those children. He didn't give that child to another child. He gave them to an adult so that you could raise them to be an adult. It is your job to teach them the loops, the safety. My children, when they went on Facebook, guess who went on Facebook? I did. And I had their information. I was able to check who they were talking to. The same thing with their friends. They were always at my house. Is it a pain in your butt sometimes? Yes, it is. Are you tired sometimes? Yes. I was involved in their lives. Did they get tired of it and say, you know what, back off? Nope, I didn't do it. I stayed involved. But you risk it. What have you got to lose? Your child being mad at you for a couple of years or not ever seeing them again for the rest of your life? Children beg you for boundaries. They want boundaries. Give them some boundaries to work in. Give them a little bit of freedom to fail, but you need to be right there to catch them when they do. It is your job, it is your responsibility to have a safety net for those children, whether they like it or not, which means, no, you don't date at 16 years old. I'm sorry, you don't. And if you do it at my house.
So you brought the kids, instead of dropping kids off to other houses, you had the kids come over to your house.
Always. I didn't know what that was at somebody's house. I didn't know if they had torn at their house or guns playing around. I was the mom of all the boys. You know what? Some of these kids that are out of college now, they still call me Mama Slim. They called my oldest son Slim Jim because he was so big. He was like 6'5" and really big. And they still call me. When they're in town, they come see me. Yes. If there was a camping trip, I went.
Alexa, may I just have a moment here? I heard Jeff's appeal, heard your appeal. I have an appeal for the older, more seasoned generation who I could speak to. May I inject something here?
Please.
My thought is this. My experience has been that there's a need for my generation, which is a little older than you all, to start reaching out and talking to these kids and taking an interest in them and not being cut off from them and separated from them. And it's all too often that in the churches you have groups that are separated into their own age groups and there's no intermingling of the two, and there's a great need for kids to have older people come by their side, talk to them, and show interest in their lives and what they're doing, and vice versa, by the way.
That's exactly right. I talked about that too. I personally believe that the downfall, part of the downfall of all this, is the lack of interest. When the church got rid of helping the widows, the older women and men are the ones that were cast aside, and they gave it to the state, then we started having a problem. My mom and dad are still very involved in my kids' life and my grandchildren, which is their great-grandchildren. Matter of fact, they had lunch today with their great-grandchild at school who's 5 years old. And I think that's a huge part. You're exactly right. The wisdom and just the safety net that comes from the grandparent, that generational grandparent being involved with the kids. Go to their ball games. Retirement does not mean that we do not serve our families and God anymore. We've got this idea in the United States that, and I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings, and there's nothing the matter with traveling and enjoying life, but if that's all that you're doing, I think you've missed the boat. I think we still have it. We even have more free time and the responsibility to spread God's word. There might be families out there who don't have grandparents for their kids. Who are they? Go find out. Be a part of them. Have a small group led by an older generation.
Hey, Alexa, we've got about 2 minutes left. Take about a minute, just a minute, and speak boldly and lead folks to the Lord. Watch your clock a second. We're going to watch the time, but take a minute and just introduce them to the Lord and pray with them.
I fell in love with Jesus Christ about 10 years ago, and I cannot imagine ever doing anything in my life without him. He has taken care of me. He has given me shelter. He has provided my needs. It is the only person that you need to fall in love with. If you don't believe me, all I challenge you to do is to go open his word. You can read it. Maybe you still don't believe it, but I guarantee you if you just open it and start spending time with your Savior, the person who created you, it says in Jeremiah 29:11, I have formed you for a plan and a purpose, one to not harm you, but one to prosper you. That does not mean financial prospering. It means the will of God, that you're living in that sweet spot with Jesus. I am happier than I have ever been in my life, and I am 54 years old, and I have had many opportunities in my life to do many different things. But the only one that has been fulfilling to me is my personal relationship with Jesus Christ, because he is Jehovah. He is the final authority. And when I leave this earth, I want to know that I'm going to be spending the rest of my life in heaven, because John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish. And friends, Satan is out there, and he wants to confuse you, and then he's going to lead you. And furthermore, he's already lost the battle. His destiny is to spend the rest of his eternity in hell. So I ask you just to spend some time with Jesus and open his word. Know he's your Jehovah. Know he's El Roy. He sees everything that's going on in your life, and believe that and claim it.
Alexa, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very, very much. We're running out of time. But, folks, if you want to contact Alexa Likis-James, her ministry is called Blanket Fort Hope. Write this number down, 205-532-3048, 532-3048. Alexa, we got to run. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
All right.
Thanks, Alexa.
Many thanks to Jim King of Hedges and Highways Ministry, Brad Phillips, and Homewood Auto Body Specialist. And I'm a sponsor, too, Jeff DeShaza with Keller Williams Realty in Hoover. Folks, join us again next week, same time, 11 to 12 noon on 97.7 The Peach. On behalf of Daniel Conner, producer, and Ron Meyer, our co-host, my name is Jeff DeShaza. Join us again next week, everybody.